The war between humans and the alien empire had been burning across the stars for years. Ships of steel carried men and women into battles that seemed endless. Among those soldiers was Aaron, a young man who had joined the fleet with little more than courage in his heart and determination in his mind. The fleet had just entered a system filled with scattered rocks and drifting asteroids. It was supposed to be a quiet patrol, but the enemy was already there, waiting in the shadows. As soon as the human ships crossed into the sector, alien fighters poured out like swarms of black arrows. Sirens echoed across Aaron's vessel. "Battle stations!" The voice of the commander roared through the speakers. Lights turned red, alarms flashed, and soldiers rushed to their assigned posts. Aaron pulled on his suit, sealed his helmet, and gripped his rifle. The air was tense, filled with the hum of engines and the heavy sound of footsteps. Aaron's squad was ordered to launch in drop pods, landing on a rocky fragment where alien troops were setting up a forward outpost. The pod shook violently as it pierced the atmosphere of the asteroid. The impact was hard, throwing dust into the thin air. Aaron unstrapped himself and stepped out, weapon ready. Around him, his squad spread out in formation. The battle began quickly. Alien weapons lit the surface with streaks of green fire. Humans answered with red bursts from their rifles. Explosions shook the rocks and soldiers fell. The air was sharp, filled with the taste of metal and dust. Aaron moved from cover to cover, firing at enemy shadows. His heart pounded not from fear, but from the drive to push forward. Then through the storm of chaos he saw something that froze him for a single heartbeat. Ahead a soldier stumbled as a blast knocked her off balance. The impact tore her helmet loose, sending it rolling across the ground. For any soldier, losing the helmet meant death. The thin air here was almost unbreathable, the dust sharp and poisonous. The woman's face was exposed to the hostile world and her breath came in ragged gasps. Aaron recognized her. It was Mira, a soldier he had seen before in the fleet's corridors. He had noticed her quiet strength, the way she always moved with purpose. Her eyes had always carried calm fire, even when others doubted themselves. Now she was on her knees, struggling for breath while the enemy aimed at her. Something inside Aaron refused to stay still. Orders shouted through his helmet. His squad leader barked for him to stay in line. But Aaron's heart was already moving faster than his mind. He broke formation, sprinting across open ground. Enemy fire rained down around him, burning the rocks, striking dangerously close. He reached Mira just as an alien blast slammed into the ground beside her. Dust rose, but Aaron ignored it. He dropped his rifle to grab her by the shoulders. With one hand, he pulled a small backup breather mask from his suit and pressed it over her mouth and nose. With the other, he raised his shield to block incoming fire. Mira's wide eyes met his. For a moment, the battle around them disappeared. Aaron saw the strength in her, the refusal to give up, and something more. Gratitude and a spark that words could not explain. She drew in a breath through the mask, her chest rising again with life. Aaron held his ground, firing back with his pistol while shielding her. Reinforcements from their squad finally rushed in, driving the enemy back. Mira reached for her fallen helmet, and with shaking hands she locked it back in place. Her breathing steadied, but her gaze never left Aaron. When the fight ended, the rocky surface was littered with the signs of war. Human soldiers regrouped, carrying their wounded. The commander stormed toward Aaron, his face hard beneath the visor of his own helmet. "You broke formation," the officer growled. "You disobeyed direct orders. That could have cost us the mission." Aaron stood silent, dust covering his armor. He wanted to defend himself, but he knew the truth. He had left his post. Before the commander could continue, Mira stepped forward. Her voice was steady, though still weak from what she had suffered. "If he had not moved, I would be dead. He saved my life. That is the truth." The commander glared at them both, then finally turned away with a sharp order to continue the mission. Aaron knew the matter was far from over. Breaking rules was not forgiven easily in the fleet. Still, as the squad marched on, Mira walked beside him. Her shoulder brushed lightly against his arm in silent thanks. When they finally boarded the ship again, the weight of battle seemed heavier on everyone's shoulders. Soldiers cleaned their gear, repaired their armor, and sat in silence. Aaron found himself replaying the moment in his mind. The way her helmet had rolled across the rocks. The way her eyes had looked into his as he gave her breath again. Later that night, when the artificial lights dimmed to simulate night on the ship, Mira approached him. Her armor was cleaned, but her voice carried warmth. "You risked everything today," she said softly. Aaron shook his head. I only did what I had to. I could not stand and watch you fall. Mira studied him for a long moment. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Rules may not allow what you did, but I am alive because of you. I will not forget that. Aaron did not know what to answer. Words felt too small, but in his heart something new began to grow. It was not just duty, not just the bond of soldiers. It was a fire he had never felt before. He lay awake long after Mira left, staring at the ceiling of his cabin. He knew he had already crossed a line, one that could change his life forever. In that moment, he made a silent promise. If the universe forced him to break every rule, he would do it. He would protect her, fight for her, and one day, no matter the cost, he would make her his wife. The fleet moved slowly through dark space after the battle. Repairs were endless as every ship carried scars from alien fire. Soldiers worked with tired faces, some tending to wounds, others carrying heavy tools to fix damaged systems. The war was far from over, but for a short while there was silence. Aaron sat at his station, checking the diagnostics on his rifle. The weapon's outer casing was blackened from the heat of the fight. Every mark reminded him of how close Mira had come to death. He tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting to her. The image of her kneeling on the rocky ground without her helmet was carved into his thoughts. During the following days, Aaron and Mira saw each other often, though not always by choice. Their units were on the same deck of the ship, which meant they crossed paths in the long steel corridors and in the dining hall. Mira always greeted him with a nod, sometimes a small smile. At first they spoke little, but slowly their conversations grew. One evening, after their shift ended, Aaron found Mira working alone in the hangar. She was kneeling beside a shuttle, her hands busy repairing a loose panel. Sparks flew as she welded the metal back into place. You should not be working by yourself, Aaron said as he stepped closer. This task usually needs 2 people. Mira looked up. The soft light from the sparks lit her face through the open visor of her helmet. She shook her head lightly. Most people are too tired. I did not want to wait. Aaron hesitated before crouching beside her. Then I will help. Together they worked, passing tools back and forth. For a time, the silence between them was enough. When the last bolt was tightened, Mira sat back and exhaled. You risked everything for me on that asteroid, she said quietly. Why? Aaron stared at the cold metal floor. He did not want to admit what he felt. Not yet. Finally, he answered, because no soldier should be left behind. Because I could not watch you fall. Mira studied him. Her eyes held both strength and softness. You broke rules that day. Rules matter in war. But I am grateful. I want you to know that, Aaron nodded. Inside, his heart burned with something deeper, but he stayed silent. Days turned into weeks as the fleet traveled from system to system. Battles flared here and there, but between them, life on the ship settled into routine. Aaron and Mira grew closer. They shared meals in the dining hall, speaking about their pasts. Mira told him about her colony, a small world with clear lakes and fields that stretched for miles. She had joined the fleet to protect her home. Her parents were still there, waiting for her return. Every time I go into battle, I think of them, she said. I fight so they never see war reach their door. Aaron listened, his chest tightening. You fight for them. That is strength, he said. I joined because I wanted to protect people too, but I never had a home like that. The fleet became my home. Mira gave him a long look as if she saw through him. Perhaps now you do have something more than the fleet, she said softly. Her words stayed with him long after they parted that night. But not everyone was blind to the bond forming between them. Rumors spread quietly among the soldiers. Some whispered that Aaron had feelings for Mira. Others warned that the commanders would not allow it. Fleet law was strict. Relationships between soldiers were forbidden, as they were believed to weaken discipline and judgment. One evening, Aaron was called to the commander's office. The room was bare, with only a table and a few screens glowing with data. The commander sat behind the desk, his face hard. You are a capable soldier, the commander began, but your actions on the asteroid nearly cost us the mission. Do not think I have forgotten. I see you spending time with Mira. Do you understand the rules? Yes, Commander, Aaron replied, his voice steady. Good, the commander said sharply. Because if you break them again, you will be court-martialed. Your duty is to the fleet, not to any single person. Remember that. Aaron left the room with clenched fists. He knew the commander was right by the laws of the fleet, but his heart refused to listen. The memory of Mira's eyes when he saved her burned brighter than any law. That night, as the lights dimmed and silence filled the ship, Aaron found Mira sitting near one of the large viewing windows. The stars stretched endlessly, shining like silver fire across the black sea of space. He sat beside her. For a while, neither spoke. The stars filled the silence with their quiet beauty. Finally, Mira said, "I heard you were called by the commander." Aaron nodded. "He told me to stay away from you." Mira's expression darkened, but her voice was calm. "He is right. Rules are rules. If you break them, you will lose everything." Aaron turned to her, his eyes burning with emotion. "I do not care about rules. Not when it comes to you." Mira looked at him in surprise. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she turned back to the stars. "You should care. I do not want your life ruined because of me." Aaron's chest tightened. "You are not the reason. The reason is what I feel. Mira, I would rather lose everything than see you fall again." Her breath caught softly, though she tried to hide it. She kept her gaze on the stars, but her voice grew quieter. "And if we are discovered? Then let them do what they will," Aaron answered firmly. "I will not stop." Mira closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there was no fear, only a softness that had not been there before. "You are stubborn," she said with a faint smile. "Perhaps too stubborn for your own good." Aaron returned her smile, though his heart was heavy. He knew the path he had chosen would not be easy. The fleet's rules were iron, but as he sat beside Mira under the stars, he also knew there was no turning back. Their bond was growing stronger with each passing day. It was more than duty, more than friendship. It was something that carried warmth even in the cold of space, something that gave Aaron strength when the weight of war threatened to crush him. He did not know what the future would bring. Battles still waited and dangers lay in every system. But one truth had already settled inside him. He would break every rule if it meant standing beside Mira. He would fight against the universe itself if it meant protecting her. The stars outside the window burned bright, as if the universe itself was listening to his silent vow. The fleet entered a quiet system on the edge of human space. The stars there burned faintly, and the planets were nothing more than barren rocks. The silence of the void made the soldiers uneasy. They had fought too long to believe in peace. Aaron could feel the tension rising in every deck of the ship. Something about this system felt wrong. Mira was assigned to a small shuttle mission to survey nearby fragments of an asteroid field. Aaron watched from the hangar as she prepared her craft. She checked every control, fastened every lock, and secured her gear. He wanted to speak to her before she left, but too many eyes were watching. The rules still hung over them like chains. So he only gave a small nod, and Mira gave one back before the shuttle door closed. Hours passed. Aaron worked at his station, but his mind was restless. He kept glancing at the monitors that tracked the shuttles. One dot on the screen carried Mira and her small team. It moved deeper into the asteroid field. Then suddenly alarms blared. The enemy had arrived. Alien ships appeared out of nowhere, their dark forms sliding from behind the asteroids like hunters waiting for prey. The fleet scrambled into battle formation, weapons charging, engines roaring. The command center sent desperate orders to pull the shuttles back, but it was already too late. Mira's shuttle was cut off. On the monitor, Aaron saw the small craft take fire. Sparks flared across its hull, and then the signal broke into static. His chest clenched as if an iron hand had seized him. He rushed to the launch bay, already knowing what he was going to do. The commander's voice thundered through the ship. "All soldiers remain at posts. Rescue will be attempted after the battle. No one leaves formation." Aaron ignored it. He ran straight to a smaller craft, one built for quick strikes. His fingers flew over the controls as he prepared the engines. Soldiers shouted at him, warning him that he was disobeying orders, but his decision was already made. He thought of Mira's face, of her smile under the stars, and his heart hardened with resolve. The craft roared from the bay, shooting into the battlefield. Enemy fire streaked past him, lighting the dark with burning trails. He weaved through the chaos, his hands steady, his eyes sharp. Every second felt like the last, but he would not turn back. On the far side of the asteroid field, he found her shuttle. It was broken, half buried in a crater of rock. The hull was cracked, smoke rising into the thin air. Aaron landed beside it, his boots hitting the jagged surface. He forced the door open, calling Mira's name. She was there, sitting against the wall of the shuttle, her armor damaged, but her spirit unbroken. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "You should not be here," she said weakly. "This is against orders." Aaron knelt beside her, checking her wounds. "I do not care about orders. I only care that you are alive." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "I knew you would come." Together they moved quickly, repairing what they could of the shuttle's systems. Mira's leg was injured, but she refused to rest. They worked side by side, sparks flying as they welded and reconnected broken lines. Outside, alien scouts prowled the rocks, their shadows slipping across the surface like predators. When the first scout drew near, Aaron grabbed his rifle. He fired, the blast echoing through the thin atmosphere. Mira pulled herself to her feet, gripping her own weapon despite the pain. Back to back they fought, their rifles flashing red against the alien green. Each enemy fell, but more followed. Between battles, Mira leaned against the rock, breathing hard. "You know what this means, Aaron. If we survive, the fleet will punish you. You may lose everything." Aaron reloaded his rifle with steady hands. His voice was firm. "Let them punish me. My life means nothing if I cannot protect you." Mira looked at him, her eyes shining even in the dim light. She wanted to argue, but the words would not come. Instead, she simply nodded and lifted her rifle again. For 2 days, they remained stranded on that barren moon. The stars above never changed, always cold, always distant. Together, they fought off small waves of enemy scouts, repaired what they could of the shuttle, and shared what little food remained. At night, when the battle quieted, they sat near the wreckage, speaking softly to one another. Mira told him more about her home. She spoke of the scent of the fields after rain, of her little brother who dreamed of flying, of the laughter of her parents around the fire. Aaron listened, memorizing every word, every detail. It painted a picture of a life far beyond war, a life he never thought he could have. In return, he told her about his past. He spoke of the empty streets where he had grown up, of the loneliness that had driven him to the fleet, of the endless hunger for meaning. Mira listened with the same calm strength she carried into every battle. One night, as they sat together watching the stars, Aaron turned to her. His voice was low, steady, and filled with truth. "Mira, I swear to you, if we live through this, I will marry you. No law, no rule, no commander will stop me." Mira's eyes widened. For a long moment, she said nothing. Her lips parted as if the words were trapped inside. Then she placed her hand lightly on his arm. "Aaron, the world we live in does not allow such dreams. But still, I want to believe you." Before he could answer, an explosion tore across the rocks. Alien ships had found their hiding place. The sky lit with fire and the ground shook. Aaron and Mira sprang to their feet, weapons ready. Side by side, they faced the storm. The fight was fierce, the air filled with light and smoke. Every shot Aaron fired was for her. Every step Mira took was for him. They moved as one, as if the bond between them guided their hands and hearts. Just as the battle threatened to overwhelm them, the roar of engines filled the air. Human ships appeared above, weapons blazing. The fleet had arrived at last, driving back the enemy with overwhelming firepower. Rescue teams landed, pulling Aaron and Mira to safety. As they were lifted from the battlefield, Mira leaned close to him. Her voice was soft, barely a whisper, but it carried all the strength of her heart. "You kept your vow, Aaron. You came for me. And now, whatever comes, I will stand beside you." Aaron closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of her words. He knew punishment awaited him. He knew the fleet would not forgive what he had done. But none of that mattered anymore. He had chosen his path, and Mira was the reason for it. Together, they would face whatever came next. The rescue from the barren moon had been a relief, but the price was heavy. Mira's shuttle was beyond repair, and her wounds, though not fatal, kept her from active duty for several days. Aaron stayed near her whenever he could, finding reasons to pass through the medical bay or assist with routine tasks close by. Each time, Mira would greet him with a quiet smile that made the endless war seem just a little lighter. Yet whispers followed them. Soldiers spoke in low voices, wondering why Aaron had risked his life and disobeyed direct orders to rescue her. Some called it bravery, but others called it foolishness. The commander kept his silence for now, though his eyes grew sharp whenever they rested on Aaron. Everyone knew punishment was coming. The fleet moved again, leaving behind the broken system and heading deeper into contested space. Every ship hummed with repairs and preparation. The battles seemed endless, but inside Aaron's heart, a different war had begun. He felt the weight of his vow, the promise he had spoken to Mira beneath the stars of that lonely moon. One evening, when the ship drifted quietly between destinations, Mira found Aaron near the viewing deck. The wide window stretched across the wall, showing the vast sea of stars outside. Their light spilled into the room, cold and distant yet strangely comforting. Mira walked slowly, her injured leg still stiff, and sat beside him. For a while they said nothing. They simply stared at the endless night, watching streaks of dust pass like silent travelers. At last, Mira spoke. "You risked everything for me, Aaron, not once but twice. Do you regret it?" Aaron turned his head, his eyes steady. "Never. I told you I would rather lose everything than see you fall." Her lips curved faintly, but there was sadness in her gaze. "And what if the fleet decides to punish you? What if they strip away your rank or worse? You have a future here. Do not throw it away for me." Aaron shook his head. "My future is nothing without you. I swore to you that I would marry you. That vow is stronger than any order or rule." Mira looked away, her fingers tightening in her lap. The silence stretched between them until finally she said, "You speak as if such a thing is possible, but the fleet does not allow it. We are soldiers. To them we are tools, not people with dreams. Marriage is not part of our lives." Aaron's voice softened, but it carried strength. "Then I will make it part of my life. Even if I must walk away from the fleet, I will not abandon that promise." Mira's breath caught. She turned to him, eyes wide with surprise. "You would leave everything you have known? All for me?" Aaron nodded. "Yes, because what I feel for you is not something I can ignore. When I saw your helmet fall, I realized how fragile life is. Every moment could be our last. I do not want to waste those moments following rules that keep me from you." Mira's heart stirred at his words. She had fought for years, carrying the weight of duty, never daring to dream of something more. Yet now, sitting beside Aaron, she felt something she had never allowed herself to feel before: hope. Before she could reply, the ship's alarms echoed across the deck. Red lights flashed, and the voice of the commander filled the corridors. "Enemy fleet detected. All soldiers to stations." Aaron and Mira rose at once, their private moment cut short. They rushed through the corridors, joining the flow of soldiers moving with urgency. Mira strapped on her armor, ignoring the pain in her leg. Aaron checked his weapon, his face set with determination. The enemy struck with force, their ship swarming like a tide of shadows. Explosions rocked the fleet, shaking the steel halls. Aaron and Mira's unit was deployed to defend a nearby outpost on a barren moon circling a gas giant. The landing was harsh, the surface cold and gray under the pale glow of the giant planet. Alien troops advanced in waves, their weapons tearing through the air with deadly light. Human soldiers fought desperately, holding the line against overwhelming numbers. Aaron and Mira moved together through the battle, covering each other with perfect rhythm. When Aaron fired, Mira advanced. When Mira stumbled from her injury, Aaron's shield rose to protect her. They were no longer just soldiers. They were two hearts fighting as one. But the enemy pressed harder. Explosions scattered the human lines, forcing small groups to hold positions alone. Aaron and Mira found themselves separated from the others, cornered in a rocky ridge. The enemy closed in, their weapons glowing, their steps relentless. Mira's breath was ragged, her legs slowing her down. Aaron pulled her close, raising his rifle. "We will hold them," he said firmly. No matter what. They fought with every ounce of strength, their rifles flashing in the dark. Alien after alien fell, but still they came. Dust filled the air, smoke burned their lungs, and exhaustion clawed at their bodies. Then, in a moment of rare silence between volleys, Mira leaned close to him. Her voice was steady despite the chaos. "Aaron, if we die here, I want you to know I believe your vow." "I believe in us." Aaron's heart surged with fire. He turned to her, eyes fierce. "We will not die here. We will live, and I will keep that vow. Under these stars, I swear again, I will marry you." Their eyes locked, and though the battle raged around them, time seemed to slow. For the first time, Mira allowed herself to dream, to imagine a life beyond war, a life beside him. The enemy roared, breaking the moment. Aaron and Mira rose together side by side, their weapons blazing. Just as the tide threatened to overwhelm them, the sky lit with fire. Human reinforcements stormed down, ships blasting the enemy from above. Soldiers poured into the ridge, pushing the aliens back. The battle ended at last, leaving silence over the broken ground. Aaron and Mira stood together, armor scorched, faces streaked with dust but alive. The stars above shone cold and endless, yet in their hearts, a new warmth burned brighter than any light. That night, as the fleet regrouped, Aaron and Mira found a quiet corner on the ship. They sat close, leaning against each other, watching the stars once more through the viewing deck window. Mira whispered, her voice soft but sure, "You made your vow under the stars. I will not forget it. No matter what happens, I will hold to it." Aaron wrapped his hand gently around hers. "Then it is sealed. Whatever the cost, Mira, I will make you my wife. That is the truth I live for now." The universe outside stretched vast and unending, filled with battles yet to come. But in that moment, between two hearts bound by courage and love, the war seemed smaller, and the dream of a future together seemed possible. The fleet returned to its main station after the rescue. The halls were busy with soldiers, mechanics, and officers running about. Machines hummed, lights blinked, and voices echoed across the wide steel corridors. Aaron walked in silence between two guards. His hands were not chained, but the guards kept close to him, reminding everyone who looked that he was under arrest. He had disobeyed a direct order. He had stolen a craft, risked his life, and broken several rules that kept the fleet together. Yet he did not regret it. His heart was calm. Every step reminded him of Mira's face, her soft smile on that cold moon, her eyes when he had sworn to marry her. That memory gave him strength. Mira followed behind, her pace strong and steady. She was not under arrest, but her presence beside him was enough to draw whispers. Soldiers glanced at them, some with disapproval, some with quiet admiration. They all knew the story now. News traveled fast across ships. A man who broke every rule to save one woman. The guards stopped before the council chamber, a massive room where senior officers gathered. The door slid open and Aaron was led inside. Mira walked in after him. At the far end of the chamber, a long table stood. Behind it sat commanders with hard faces and sharp uniforms. One commander spoke first. His voice was deep, almost like iron striking stone. "Aaron, soldier of the human fleet, you are accused of abandoning your post, stealing a craft, disobeying direct orders, and endangering the mission. Do you understand these charges?" Aaron lifted his head. "I understand." The room was silent. Then another commander asked, "Do you deny them?" "No," Aaron said. His voice was firm. "I did everything you said. I did it because Mira's life was in danger. I would do it again." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some officers frowned. Others shifted in their seats. The first commander slammed his hand against the table. "A soldier cannot put personal feelings above the safety of the fleet. Rules exist for a reason. Without rules, we fall apart. What you did could have doomed us all." Before Aaron could answer, Mira stepped forward. Her voice was clear. "With respect, commanders, if Aaron had not acted, I would not be standing here today. He risked his life to save mine, but he also helped us return vital data from the moon. His actions brought back information on enemy patrols that will save lives in the future." The commanders turned their eyes to her. She continued, her words strong. "He may have broken rules, but sometimes rules cannot see the value of a human heart. The aliens we fight are ruthless. They care only for conquest. What makes us different, what makes humans strong, is that we fight not just for orders, but for each other." Aaron did what every true soldier should do. He protected his comrade. The room grew quiet again. Aaron looked at Mira, pride swelling in his chest. She was not afraid to speak before the council. She had always been brave. Finally, after whispers among themselves, the commanders gave their decision. "Aaron, for your disobedience, you will be removed from your current unit and suspended from duty. However, considering the testimony of Mira and the data you retrieved, your punishment will not include prison. You will be free, but you cannot continue as a soldier of this fleet." Aaron felt the weight of their words. His future as a soldier was finished. Yet strangely, he did not feel sorrow. He turned his eyes to Mira. In her gaze, he found his answer. He no longer needed the fleet. He had a different future waiting. Later, in the quiet of the station's docking bay, Aaron walked beside Mira. Ships rose and landed, carrying soldiers to faraway stars. The war would go on without him. Mira looked at him and asked softly, "What will you do now?" He smiled. "I already decided on that moon. I told you I would marry you. That is what I will do." Her eyes widened slightly. Then a soft laugh escaped her lips. "You still want to keep that promise even after losing everything here?" "I did not lose everything," Aaron replied. "I found you. That is more than enough." Mira's face grew gentle. She nodded, and for the first time her hand touched his openly, without fear of rules or watching eyes. Then I will leave too. I cannot fight this war forever. I want a life beyond it, with you. Together they made their choice. Within days they resigned their positions fully. The paperwork was heavy. The looks from officers were cold, but neither cared. They boarded a civilian ship and left the military station behind. The journey took them across stars and dust clouds, past glowing planets and silent moons. Finally, the ship reached Mira's home colony, a green and blue world that looked alive against the black sky. As they landed, Mira breathed deeply, her eyes bright. This is home. This is where my family lives. This is where we will start. The colony was peaceful, filled with simple people who worked the land and cared for each other. When Mira introduced Aaron to her family, they welcomed him with warmth. They listened to his story and saw the way he looked at her. They knew his heart was true. Days turned into weeks. Aaron learned the rhythm of colony life. He helped build, farm, and repair. He was no longer a soldier. He was a man with a home, with people who trusted him. But most of all, he was a man with Mira by his side. One clear night, under a sky filled with endless stars, Aaron kept his vow. He stood before Mira, holding her hands as her family and neighbors gathered around. The air was cool and the stars above seemed like silent witnesses to their moment. "Mira," he said, his voice steady, "I swore I would marry you no matter the cost. Today I keep that vow." Mira's eyes glistened with light. "And I swore I would not let fear or rules keep us apart. Today I give you my heart forever." The simple ceremony ended with cheers and laughter. No war, no council, no commander could touch them now. They were husband and wife, bound not by duty but by love. Later, as they stood together beneath the stars, Aaron whispered, "When your helmet fell that day, I thought I was saving your life. But in truth, you saved mine. You gave me purpose beyond orders. You gave me a reason to fight, not for a war, but for a future." Mira leaned against him, her smile soft and full of peace. "And now we will build that future together." The night stretched long, full of promise. Humanity still fought battles among the stars. But for Aaron and Mira, their greatest battle had already been won. Against fear, against rules, against the cold emptiness of war, they had chosen love. And that choice, simple and human, was the greatest victory of all.